Welcome back everybody to the Ride with the Knights YouTube channel. Today we are with All Right Guys Racing. We're getting ready to go race the Baja 1000 again. So I got the invitation from Gabe and Brian to participate on a team this year. So really excited and grateful after last year's fun experience to be able to get to enjoy something like this again. So we just met up today. We're gonna be riding a KTM 450. We've got the bike back here. We've been kind of swapping it around with some team members with getting the lights ready, doing some suspension, and that's today's goal, is working on some suspension. I've got Gabe here and Brian's helping us out with the bike. So Josh Lyman at Alpine XC, I helped a little bit with putting it together, but the valving and everything is from Alpine XC. We're running their Reds cone setup in the fork. It's a really good platform for this type of riding, for Baja stuff. We just all took a turn. We kind of wrote down our first impressions. Now we're gonna do some rounds of testing, maybe do some blind tests, maybe do some kind of desired tests with the clickers, play with some stuff, and hopefully learn some stuff about suspension and get this to where we're all kind of comfortable. We're pretty close in weight. We kind of have about a 30 or 40 pound difference between all the riders, 5 of us on the team. So we're gonna kind of average that out in the middle. We've also got some other interesting factors for a Baja bike with the lights on the front and an oversized tank. You run typically at least one, likely 2 GPS setups. So you have a lot of weight on the front that you have to account for. So these are all things to consider, but I'm still learning a ton about suspension. Happy to share this with you guys. So let's jump in, get on the bike and do some testing. All right, this is like my third time out on this bike. We're really happy with the suspension so far. Just fine tuning it, trying to get as much out of it as we can. So we're just doing some clickers right now, kind of going back and forth and doing some testing. So we got a little loop here. Testing, trying to dodge cows, fences. Feels pretty good. I like it. High speed. Pretty good Baja testing, trying to dodge fences and cows.
Every time I've gone, there's been a cow in the front.
I know. All right, let's give you guys some context here for what we were actually working on yesterday on this exact bike. So the Baja 1000 is pretty unique. Most riders are participating on a team. They do have an Ironman class, but this year we're racing as a team of 5. So the goal is to set up a bike, set up a motorcycle that satisfies the skill set, the rider preferences, and the suspension needs for all 5 riders. And so you kind of have to meet in the middle on a lot of different things, but we're all pretty close in skill level. We range kind of in the A to pro level of riders, and we're ranging in weight from about 175 up to about 200. So actually a little bit tighter window of about 25 pounds that I mentioned earlier. So our goal is to get a bike that makes everybody happy, that we're all comfortable on. Most of us have experience racing in Baja, so we know a little bit of what the terrain's like and where we kind of want to find comfort and consistency in the bike. So the test yesterday up in American Falls, Idaho went really well. It actually was a really good place to test this bike. We found a lot of square edge, kind of high speed stuff that'll kind of make you jump, or a little bit where you can get some harsh deflections. We wanted something that was really safe and predictable on that type of setting. So we started off with, it's a 2025 KTM 450, and we had the stock suspension, but it's revalved by Alpine XC. So we went through, they redid the base valve. We went up a spring rate on the fork and the shock, and then Alpine XC also installed their red cone in the mid valve. So the very first step before we even started riding was to kind of get a feel for where our sag was. So we elected to kind of use rider weight 185. So we had Brian on the bike fully geared, and we set rider sag at 105. It actually was dang close right out of the box from the preload from when we got it from Alpine XC. So we started there, we rode the bike. We started with the dual lights on. We'll get into that in a second because we had to make some changes. But we started right there, we all rode it, and we kind of just focused on taking some notes and getting our feedback down. So this is probably a pretty good way. This is how I like to approach suspension testing, and these are some of the things that have helped me, that I've learned in recent years when I go out and testing. It's so easy to get really caught up in what feels better or worse. And so you kind of just get into this really binary sort of thinking where every time you go test something, you're just like, is it better or worse? Which ultimately is kind of your end goal, is you're trying to make progress. But in my experience, it's not always the best way to learn what the bike's actually doing. And it really kind of traps you in a little box where you don't have as much freedom to kind of explore different feelings on the bike, and you may find progress and comfort in other areas. So what I like to do, and what I recommended we try with Brian and Gabe, was to avoid worrying about if a change was better or worse, but to simply just focus on the feeling. So that's what we did. We did a couple rounds of making some changes, riding the bike, and then just kind of writing down our feelings. Like, it tracks, or it feels like it wants to drift more when you're accelerating, or maybe the front end just feels kind of active and busy. The rear end felt really calm, or the rear feels like it's pogoing off of really fast bumps or something. So anything that you can do to describe it without saying good or bad or stiff or soft. I think that that's kind of the common language. If you can get away from that, you start making some progress. So we did some rounds. We were a little divey, or a little front end low from the beginning, right out of the box, which is to be expected. We have the dual light setup here on the front, which is pretty heavy. I need to weigh it. We're guessing it's probably about 10 or 12 pounds. We also have the Trail Tech Voyager Pro up here, and then we're also going to be running a Stella GPS, a lot of weight. And this is sprung mass right on top of the forks. Every single bump you hit, that is pushing down and applying a lot of direct force to the suspension. It makes a big difference. So we did those rounds. We got the bike a little bit more level where we were all happy. I'm really sensitive to forward and rearward pitch, and we were all in agreement that we felt the bike was kind of pitched forward out of the box, out of the gate. We made some changes. We really calmed down the rear end. Overall, we were about 6 clicks here or there. We made some adjustments to the high speed compression. We adjusted compression and rebound both front and rear, and we got it to where we were really happy. In Brian and Gabe's words, they said the bike is dialed. So we got that all set up, and that was with the lights on. So after that, we had some changes to make because the Baja 1000 starts at 1 a.m. typically. We haven't got the schedule yet for this year, but it's likely going to be starting in the middle of the night. So you run the lights until the sun comes up, and then we're going to take the dual setup off, because then for the next 8 to 10 hours of racing, we're going to be in daylight, and we don't need that extra weight, so we're gonna drop down to a single Baja Designs XL80 for the daytime, which is gonna shave at least 10 pounds off the front end, then go back to the dual light as we wrap up the last 200 miles of the race into the night. So we're gonna have 2 points in the event where we change drastically the weight on the front end. So we did some testing without the dual light, just with a single headlight, for the Baja Designs front number plate. And it was pretty different. As soon as we took this off, a lot of weight was relieved from the bike. The bike felt a little bit more lively. You could dip into turns a little bit earlier. You also had just a little bit more playfulness with just the whole movement and the chassis feel, but it did sort of excite the bike a little bit more. It was a lot more busy front to rear. We all noticed that the front was doing a little bit more, the rear was doing a little bit more, and we really liked that calm, sort of settled feeling that we were getting where we had the settings with the light on. So we tried to achieve that. We had to back things out, open up those clickers a little bit more, and we got a similar feeling without the lights. So essentially right now we're going into the event with 2 settings. So we have our lights on setting and our lights off setting. So we have 2 settings. We took note of those, we're gonna use those. But overall, we made a lot of progress as a team. It was a really good experience for us to spend some time riding together. We were really happy with the KTM platform. The engine on this is just amazing. I mean, being 450, it feels light. It feels like you can put the front tire where you need to. You can hit any bump, and there's just so much torque and horsepower to do really anything you need. That's really where most of our time was spent. That's what we accomplished yesterday. We got the bike into a really good spot, and more than anything, it's just nice to get out on the bike. It gives you a lot of confidence. Everybody's able to sort of just instill a little bit more confidence in them and trust in the equipment getting ready for such a big event.
Last year our suspension setup wasn't great, so we didn't get to test with lights and it was too soft. So I was just looking for something that was comfy and that could take the hard hits, and this nailed it on the head. Yeah, I'm not a super experienced rider, so I haven't really done a lot of clicker testing and suspension setup, so I learned a ton today. Basically started from zero, so I learned a lot. We're exactly a month out from pre-running. We will start pre-running a month from today. Mitch is just gonna finish up the bike. He's gonna put all the protective gear on it and finish up a few small things, and then Brian and I will test it for a couple weeks before, and then we'll head out.
How I got here was my son-in-law convinced me to race, and so I got the bug and started riding and figured that I would provide the bike for Baja, and I'd really like the KTM 450 platform, and so that's what we're starting with. Well, you know, I've been kind of a stock suspension guy, and I used to race, and so I've rode a couple different suspensions, and when they're dialed, you know they're dialed. And so the goal for a bike for me is for the rear to track, going through fast bumps and whoops, and for the front end to be able to take those harsh angled rocks. And so we started the day off with a pretty good, pretty close setup, and then throughout the day we've kind of just did some clickers here and there to provide that tracking and the front end, and yeah, it's working great. The Alpine XC setup is phenomenal.